What's up, everybody? This is the Disciple Rick coming to you with another edition, a podcast of some elder stories. And as I normally start out, I'd like to say hit that like and subscribe button if you are so willing. Get this out into the algorithm. Sure, people should be interested in some of the things that happen with elders and on the bodies of elders and things like that. Now, I'm going to say this again about the elder stories. I have no salacious stories like wife swapping and stuff like that. Okay, nothing of that sort that I am familiar with or dealt with. I don't have none of that. Number two, I want to say that my stories happen either directly to me or peripherally to me, or maybe it was a close friend that was aware or affected by this story or was directly involved in the story. The point of these stories is to get you thinking. Don't trust that J-Dub system. It is not a good system at all. All right, so I'll tell you that most of the elders that I dealt with, I mean, some good guys, there were some, but the elders like the power, but they have no judgment skill. They don't have skill of being an elder, and they never work at it. So don't trust that system, and that's why I tell these stories. All right, so I'm going to tell you this story that happened. Actually, this happened to me. I'm going to give you just a little bit of background. This congregation that I was at, the same one that I was appointed as an elder, let me just tell you, in my circuit, and especially at that congregation, one of the important things that you could ever do was to give a circuit or a district part, all right, to give a talk on the circuit level or on the district, or I guess they call it regional or whatever they call it now, on the convention type level. That was a big freaking deal. I mean, it was, that's what all people ever aimed for, was that. Okay, so look, this is around the time where I got my first circuit part, all right. The circuit overseer had come to our Kingdom Hall visiting because he had befriended a young man that I had mentored, this young brother. So I mentored him, and he was a ministerial servant. He became a ministerial servant, and he was giving his first talk, public talk, but it was a symposium with me, all right. And this would be his only talk because now he was going to Bethel right after that, and he would be gone. So he's giving a symposium. He had befriended the circuit overseer. Circuit overseer liked him, saw what he did. So he hung out with him a lot. The CO did. He was a single CO, older man with a lot of experience in the higher levels of the corporate world before he became a witness. So anyway, he came. He heard the symposium, heard me give the talk. Next thing, he came up to me and shook my hand and said, you're a really good teacher, blah, blah. Next thing I know, in the mail, I'm getting a circuit part. All right, now I just want to set that up. Now, while this is happening, just so you understand, so while this is happening, a older brother comes to me. Now, this brother had been around for a while. To tell you how long he had been around, I think he was an elder back when my mother first got baptized, because she got baptized at this same congregation as I was at. Even though that's not the one I grew up in, she was baptized at that congregation. So he was an elder back then. So he'd had his ups and downs, and then he was back as a ministerial servant. He'd been removed, blah, blah. All right, so he's a ministerial servant. But the thing was, he had been around so long that a lot of the friends there trusted him. So he comes to me one day, and he said, look, I need to talk to you. I said, okay. So he's telling me that the presiding overseer has $80,000 of this older sister's money. She don't know what he did with it, and it's going on like 2 years, and she ain't seen a dime of it. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding. Me and the PO were relatively close. I mean, he had helped me with a lot of things. We had become close. He had helped train me on a lot of stuff, and dude knew Watchtower policy backwards and forwards. I mean, he was really good. So now I find out this dude got $80,000 of his sister's money, and she don't know what he did with it because she thought that he was helping her put it in the CD. But anyway, whatever the case. So, all right, because he's my friend, I go talk to him. I go to his house later that evening. I'm like, hey man, this is what's going on. This is what I was told. That you got this sister's money and she ain't seen none of it from you. So she don't know what's going on with it. You haven't given her any paperwork or nothing. So he tells me the story that, oh, yeah, she had invested this money in rental property. She wanted me to invest in rental property. Now she's saying CDs. He's saying rental property. I'm like, well, this ain't matching up. All right, well, look, his story just sounded shady. Now I kind of knew him. I knew he liked to do some crazy things, but this was kind of like, come on, man. How you going to invest an old woman's money in some rental property? You know, that's you don't do that kind of thing. That don't even sound right. Anyway, so I said, well, look, why don't you just get her money back? And he said, yeah, okay, all right, I'll get it back to her. So I let it go for a minute, for about 2 weeks, and then I went up and asked her, because I went and talked to her too. So I went up and asked her later, hey, have you talked to his brother? Has he done anything? She said, no. He just said, I'm gonna work on getting you everything back. I'm like, she's still under the impression that it's in a CD. That makes no sense. It's like, man, why didn't you tell her the truth? That you invested her money in rental property. That's what I'm thinking to myself. I said, okay. So, hey, we going on 2 weeks, nothing back. This is just panicking. Now, look, she's older, too. I mean, when I'm talking about older, she's like 80 something, 75, 80. She had got this settlement. That's how she got this money. All right, so anyway. So I said, all right, look, man. I'm trying to get the two of y'all to work it out. This is one of Matthew 18:15 type situations. The way that the organization has set this thing up. So I'm like, hey, look, man. Why don't the two of you all just come together, you know, and decide that how y'all gonna do it? Because she just said that you gonna give her the money back, but you ain't say how you was gonna do it. So now here's the thing. So I drew up we sat and talked. The three of us sat and talked, and he gave a timeline on how soon he would get the money back, and it was actually relatively quickly. All right. And I was kind of surprised that he was going to be able to pull off this 80K if he said he's invested in a rental property. So anyway, look, I wrote up this agreement on Matthew 18:15, and for the two of them to sign, this is what they agreed upon in a discussion, and then I signed it too as a witness to it. All right, now that was something I found out that you ain't supposed to do according to J-Dub policy. All right, so the dude he knew it and just kind of let me do it. Now he would say, no, Rick, you know, you don't put your signature on it. It's just the two of us. He could have just told me that because he knew how J-Dub policy was. So, okay. Somehow, I'm going to tell y'all, somehow this dude was able to come up with 80K. But I saw the panic in him over the course of the next week or so on how he was going to pull off this 80K. He got it. I don't know what he did, but he got it. And he gave the sister her money back. And now this is not the crux of the story. Now remember I told you about the parts. All right. So while this thing is happening, the circuit assembly happens. I give my first part on the circuit assembly, you know, all good, because, you know, it was a big deal in the congregation. But here's the thing, that he didn't get a part. Okay, he didn't get a part. But you know why? It's because his talks became very, very weak. All right, he was on something else. He wasn't working on public speaking. He was not that good of a public speaker by nature, so he had to work at it. And once he stopped working at it, you can tell. Like, it was kind of weak. Now, I'm service overseer at the time. And the secretary, too, he was kind of a big shot in the area. And he was one of these dudes that wanted to give parts. But again, he hadn't given a part in a while because his talks were weak. I mean, he had given one under the previous CEO. CEO kind of felt sorry for him. But your talks are weak. Your public speaking is weak. Your teaching is weak. So he didn't get a part, so he's mad about that too. Then we had this elders meeting getting prepared for the CO where the PO and the secretary are trying to maneuver to get the secretary's son as an elder, but it's a maneuver because dude was kind of young, maybe 23. Dude was kind of young. He wasn't ready, really. He was kind of a homeschool kid that really hadn't figured life out yet. And you could just see it on him. I knew he was just plainly too young. And so I broke out a reference. I was against it because, you could see I had been around him. I could tell the dude was not ready. And no one in the congregation looked at this dude with any type of way in which they're going to come to him for advice because he's just too young. What he was doing, just to give you an example, what he was doing, how J-Dub are about the beard, but the dude was sneak shaving to give himself like a goatee, a real faded, 5 o'clock shadow goatee, but he had a mustache. So he was just still trying to figure life out, and it's no problem. So I broke out that reference, said, hey, late 20s. And this dude's in the early 20s. Oh, they was hot. All right. Now, so dude got this stuff where he stole $80,000 this chick's money. And then he mad, jealous because he ain't getting circuit parts. And then I do. I get one. So then one day, this was like a week before the CEO's visit, he calls me and wants me to come to the hall because they want to discuss some things that I had said. I'm like, what? Yeah, I want to discuss some things that you had said that was getting around, and we just kind of want to just talk about these things. So I called the CEO, and the CEO said, don't go. I was like, that ain't got nothing to do with things you said. That has nothing to do with anything. Just don't go. He said, but I know you. You going to go anyway because you going to go and try to defend yourself. I was kind of young, too. I should have told him, piss off. Which I'll see you at the CEO's meeting. I'll see you at the next meeting. So anyway, I go. It's him and the secretary. They got like 3 or 4 dudes there, and they marching these folks out on just like little stuff that I may have said. Some stuff I forgot. But they marching these folks in and out trying to build this case on me for, I don't know, whatever it was, trying to give me a case for counsel. Oh, I was highly pissed. Okay, so I kind of held it in. I shouldn't go into that meeting. These are these little games that these dudes play. So anyway, I told the CEO what it was, and he's like, okay, I'll take care of it when I get there. So he gets there, and he says the PO was talking to him. He said, yeah, we had to handle this brother. He was like, well, what do you mean you had to handle him? And so he already knew what it was, so he was trying to explain to him what it was. So he just asked him a few questions. He said, "So you did this?" So he got all clear. He got clarification, but basically he made him tell him the truth because he already knew what happened. And the PO wasn't no fool. He knew that I, had a relationship with the circuit overseer, so he knew the circuit overseer already knew this stuff, right? All right, so we had our elders meeting, and everything went off kind of without a hitch that week, but Sunday. The CEO waited for Sunday. Remember, Sunday is the day back then when the CEO would meet with the service committee to discuss, his report and then have us sign on his report. So he gets the 3 of us in, me, the PO, and the secretary. So he gets the 3 of us in, and he has 2 reports, basically. He was going to write up what these brothers did. One report he wrote up what those brothers did. The second report he had where it wasn't in there. He didn't cover any of it. And he had his view of what those brothers did. And he said, I'm going to tell you this. He says, you men disrespected your fellow elder. You don't ever do anything like that to an elder. And I'm questioning y'all motives. I mean, he went off on the 2 of them with me sitting in there. Went clean off. And boy, they just hung their head. They had their head down. Now, he wanted them to say something, but they didn't say anything. He was trying to get them to respond. They just refused to respond. So he said, all right, so I got 2 reports here. I can sign this one, We can sign this one with my counsel to you all. And the rest of your body will see it, or y'all can apologize to this brother and it be done. Which one you gonna do? Well, of course, they filled out the one that did not have the information in there, and they apologized. Then the thing was, he wasn't done. He told, because he didn't know that this was going to happen. The PO didn't know that this was going to happen. He told the PO, oh, you can tell your wife to go home. I'll take you home. So CO called me later and said that, hey man, I took him home. He said, and I read him the ride out in the car all the way home. I just thought that was too funny. It was too funny. But that wasn't look, I'm just saying, brothers have issues that they ain't worked out. These bodies of elders, you don't know what's going on inside them elders meetings. I mean, brothers be ready to fight. They be going off. They don't like each other. You got a lot of jealousies and contentiousness on the body. I mean, really, these just men. And you know how they say, oh, well, they got appointed by Holy Spirit. I'm going to tell you something. That's bullshit in J-Dub. I'm for real. And these dudes are appointed just like other people are appointed for political reasons. All right? They do all kind of stuff. I remember one brother, just to show you how things can be done. There was this brother who was an elder. This dude's an electrician. He's on the, it was the LDC now, but it was RBC. All right, so he's an electrician working on the RBC. They had this one brother on there that was underneath him who had been an elder. Right, he got deleted for alcoholism. And so what they do, they reappoint you in these positions every year. So this alcoholic brother would never listen to him. He was white too. Right, and this electrician brother was black. Now this dude was an electrician, and not only that, he taught at a technical college, right? So they're on the RBC as an electrician. This alcoholic brother gets reappointed as a ministerial servant. Now he wasn't listening to this dude prior to that. He's just kind of doing his own thing, and he would just straight out defy him. So he talked to the RBC about it. So what happens later, his body of elder appoints him as an elder again. I guess he got over his alcoholism, all right? So what does the RBC do when they go around and they start reappointing? They reappoint this dude as the head of the department, and then the black dude they put under him as the assistant. So the black dude was like, oh, okay, y'all want to play it that way? No, I'm done. He stopped working for him, which I don't blame him. He stopped working for him. So these men they got issues, period. I mean, it's all kind of issues. The funny thing was, the PO at my hall, this dude was, just to show you how crazy it is, this dude was the assembly overseer, the assistant assembly overseer, which means he was in administration for the circuit assembly, the top. There's only two. You got the assembly overseer and then the assistant. He was the assistant. He was on the HLC. The secretary was on the RBC, not one of the workers. He was actually on the RBC. See, so these dudes were big shots. They were both on special and appeal committees and all that stuff back then. They did all that stuff. And back then on the circuit overseer's report, they would list all your accomplishments. So he had PO, but then he had HLC, AO, and SPC, and what was a PO? APP. Well, he had all those. So did the secretary. He had all that. So he was on special appeal committees too. And then you have me as SEC for congregation secretary. See, I got one credential. They got 20. And they jealous because I got a circuit part and they didn't. And they would do all this bull crap. All right, so look. Following the circuit overseer's visit, the next Sunday, the PO basically pulls me out the meeting and doing the Watchtower study. And he wants to talk to me outside and wants to know what happened to our relationship. Hey, I went clean off, straight up. I told him, you know what? You took that sister's money, $80,000 of that sister's money. For 2 years, you ain't saying nothing to this sister, no matter what was going to happen. Was you hoping this sister died and nobody knew about her money? Or, what about her family could have came after you? You know what? I didn't even take this to the body of elders. What you did, I kept it between you, me, and her because you were my friend. I was trying to protect you. And then you go and pull this shit with me? You gonna march these dudes in, try to set some stuff up like, you need to counsel me on it. I said, yeah, friendship's done. I'm gonna let you know about that. Say, don't ever come to me. I'm gonna look at it. In the past, I had loaned this dude money. It took him like, it wasn't no big money. I loaned him like $500, something like that. It wasn't no big money. Man, it took the dude like 2 years to pay that back. So he was just really poor with money. And so I was like, I just want to clean off. I mean, and I didn't care. I wasn't loud, but I was growling. All right. Week later, yeah, I'm resigning my position as a PO, and I'm changing congregation. And everybody was like, "What? Where that?" Everybody was shocked. Like, where'd that come from? It just came right out. What? Everybody was surprised. That's what happened. Looked that man in his eye. Let him know, I see who you are as a man, as a person. He was out. All right, I'm out. I mean, it surprised the mess out of me. It really is. It surprised the mess out of me. We talked a few times after that over the years, but not too much. As a matter of fact, shoot, he don't go to the hall no more. He stopped going some years ago. But that's the thing. Number one, these elders, if you see some characteristics, stay the hell away from them. When you see some bad stuff, yeah. You don't trust these men with your personal issues. Number two, you don't trust them with money. Now, this dude was poor with money. Straight up. He was poor with money. So he took his sister's $80K. I don't know what he did with it. If he invested in a property or what. I don't know what he did to get the $80K back. But let me tell you something else that happened. So there was another brother who decided to invest with him on some rental property. Well, before that. He would try to get me to invest in some rental property. I was like, yeah, no, I'm good. All right. He had talked to my dad about investing in some rental property. My dad said, well, wait a minute. You just a front man. You ain't investing no money in it. Nah, I'm good. Mm-mm. And my dad told me about it. Man, he's just a front man. He ain't got no money. So, anyway. He convinced some other brother to invest with him. But again, he's just a front man. He has no money. So this brother sinks some money in a rental property, and he pulls some other guy who's a non-witness, all right? So really, he's the front man, and there's one witness, and his non-witness are really the dudes who had the down payment on the house. Well, a non-witness dude, he's married, but he got his girlfriend staying in the rental property. So what this chick did, she made some sort of mistake, burns down the house. The dude who was the PO hadn't paid the insurance premium on the house. So the brother, the witness brother, was left holding the bag. And this dude was doing pretty good. He was married, had I think he had maybe 2 kids at the time. And they had to file for bankruptcy because he was the one on the hook to pay this note back. They had to file for bankruptcy. And look, I'm going to tell you something. This happened some years ago, and that family is still reeling from it. Still. But the brother, who was a PO, he came off scot-free because he was just a front man. He had no money. Don't trust these brothers with your money. As a matter of fact, back when Bernie Madoff was doing his Ponzi scheme, there was a brother in the neighboring circuit over did the same thing with J-Dub's money. He did a Ponzi scheme. He got caught. All the witnesses lost their money with him. Don't mix that. These are just people, and these are people under a different type of stress, and it's a stress that is not good for relationships, especially for things that require a measure of wisdom, like knowledge of your personal circumstances and money. Don't ever fool with that. That's my recommendation to you. See, these stories I'm telling you are real. This stuff has happened to people. And you feel sad for them. And even if, like for me, I was personally involved, so I was really pissed off at this dude that they would do that. So I already knew that the secretary was a snake. But for him, I kind of knew he was too. But we had been friends, and dude had helped me in terms of my J-Dub progress. But then he turns into this type of person, which he really was all along. But anyway, I'm just saying that y'all be careful with these folks who you deal with. All right, If you still in J-Dub and use some wisdom yourself, pray for wisdom because the Bible says he gives wisdom to those seeking it. So pray for wisdom on how to handle your situation. But don't trust those elders. All right, look, this is Disciple Rick. I'm signing off. I'll talk to y'all later.